all say ye in the Indians go for by, Yasa ko fa for Eddie Abba, or my Ghana with the Sawa Palm on your summer would pan ya memodia, and ye. To me in yin in the news and for no in Sincha the Birada. And today be a make subscribe to your channel no. Also can all other relevant news are and can for politics one any governance any at the other one. Say for political parties from NPP, NDC, CPP, PDP and all other political parties no so. Also can some more. At the end I say CBUR ama atumpan ana ama yenya sundwe e wo sete domasi. Yenkotie insembe emra pedefo ase ka komidje no kofo enum. Anti mentumi nkansa nso mfa nhye nkofo bia no yenkotie mra na yeba ye de adwenche ba hwese wutie no no comment nso begu ase na bibia nso aye kama ne etumanya bre akenkan e de ama before that nso no subscribe to your channel no on sabeka all other relevant news yetie se memra sisi ya na yeba ye de akabia nso atwa wo so na bibia nso aye wana yentie memra sisi ya.
If it comes out, they will discuss it publicly. So that in itself will put fear in the office holders to walk the straight and narrow. And you see, earlier on, Eduji mentioned the live beyond reproach, Caesar's wife's test. Yes, in the Justice Paul Derry versus Anas Tiger PI, etc. They mentioned it. The Supreme Court said, yes, Caesar's wife's test applies.
Okay.
So if you want to avoid trouble, it's good. So that all of us are held in check, right? So the point is that the press conference is done is advocacy for us to amend the constitution, amend it. That's in future, but this current one we are stuck. So remember when the topic first came, like one of the times we discussed it a few weeks ago, I had said, oh, we should go and do Musa Dankwa should do a poll, etc. But the responses from citizenry on this program and panelists and everything was very clear that listen. Once this constitution says in camera, please go by it. I agree. So these arguments about make it open, that's in the future constitution. Please, to be clear, these arguments that make it open, etc., we are talking about the future constitution that Secrecy, Prempe, and the rest are crafting. But as for the current proceedings, the law is clear. The law is the law, no matter what I see. It says that it should be in camera. And so we are following the rules on in camera proceedings. Right.
Let me bring Legislator McClure on this matter because the Chief Justice was quite clear. And we'll put that on the screen, the 4 reasons why the suspended Chief Justice did this press conference, as she put out herself. These are the 4 reasons. They said the removal process is historic with higher stakes, but then again, the position is that this process has been reduced to ordinary litigation between the petitioners and herself. The process itself is flawed. It violates the Constitution, and the manner in which it's being done breaks every rule on how justice is to be delivered. 2, the far-reaching implications of the process goes beyond her, and its effect reaches beyond her as an individual. And the alleged constitutional violations and illegalities of the proceedings, as she put out there, about her lawyer not being admitted before the committee because she didn't accompany him, and the family and so on. And then the final one about the calls for resignation says it's not on the table, and the alleged threats on her life. She put that there as well, that her resignation will be an admission that this flawed process is acceptable. This entire secrecy of this says it is not meant to pursue an agenda. Has this press conference done any good from where you sit?
Okay, so it's quite an interesting issue. First of all, I mean, like any other Ghanaian, you can call the press and speak to them on anything that you feel strongly about. So her right to address the press is not something that you can take away from her. That is within her so to do. But what she's not permitted to do is to use the processes of a press conference to undermine a constitutionally sanctioned process. I've always maintained that in the wisdom of the framers of the 1992 Constitution, and I say this with all humility, I am not in position to say I am wiser and more intelligent than the people who put the 1992 Constitution together. No, I say this with all humility. in the wisdom of the framers of the 1992 Constitution, they envisage that the Chief Justice can be removed and proscribe or possibly prescribed the method or the procedure for doing same. Chief Justice Torkono is not the first person to have had that process triggered against him or her. Why? In 1995-96, the Ghana Bar Association, the Urban case.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they use a different process, litigation, to achieve the very end of removal. And that is why if you look at the Ghana Bar Association Attorney General, the Urban case, His Lordship Justice Kwega deprecated the conduct of the Ghana Bar Association. Because what the Ghana Bar Association then sought to do was to put the grounds for the removal in a writ. And so as to put the whole matter in public, a clever way of circumventing the secrecy proceedings. His Lordship Justice Ajabin, Justice Kwega and Co. said, look, the Association of Lawyers should know better. And then underscored the constitutional reason for the secrecy of the proceedings. And said that the reason for the secrecy is actually to protect the judiciary itself. Imagine a judge goes through the removal process, televised on the tele. Under cross-examination, lawyers can ask all kinds of questions, related, unrelated, even relevant, irrelevant. Say for the judge to say, no, this question, by which time he had asked already. We all do that under cross-examination. We deliberately will ask a question, knowing that this question is not permissible, but to color the mind of the court. Then the judge will say no, or counsel would have to object. Then the judge will say, question overruled. Ask another question. We do that all the time. So in the wisdom of the framers of the Constitution, they wanted a process that would also ensure that you protect the persons involved. Because it may well be that after the proceeding, the person will not actually be guilty of what you are saying.
But everything would have been out there. Everything
would have been out there. So I found it extremely, in fact, I want to be charitable by saying that it's untenable. Professor Kuku says I shouldn't say it's untenable. And that is plain illegality.
Why
what the Chief Justice did.
Why is it plain illegality?
Because you see, cleverly, she puts the content of the petition in public and try to excite a public conversation on the merits, which invariably would defeat the constitutional reason for the in-camera hearing. I don't think, look, I think that she's ably represented by lawyers. My senior, lawyer Ayuku Otu, is not a lawyer of mean standing. A very respected lawyer, a man who had risen to the topmost position in Ghana, that is the office of Attorney General for us among lawyers. To rise to the position of Attorney General, it's not a mean thing. That is the position he got to. She is represented by such a person. What kind of argument that my senior, Ayiko Otu, cannot put before a 5-member committee? In the wisdom of the framers of the Constitution, they wanted at least 2 senior judges to be on that committee. So you let's even say, you do not trust the appreciation of law by Daniel Domelebo and the other 2 on the committee. What about Justice Asiedu? What about Puaman? Is it not curious? When Vincent Asifua issued the writ naming the Attorney General as the defendant, challenging the President's reference to the Council of State, Her Ladyship Justice Torkono empaneled 5 judges to hear the Vincent Assefuah matter. Justice Asiedu was one of them. Is she her case? That at the time when she put Justice Asiedu to be among the 5 judges to hear the Vincent Assefuah matter until it was reconstituted, she never trusted his judicial independence, his judicial mind, and that he had cause to believe that Justice Asiedu does not appreciate the judicial oath that he took. Away from this hypocrisy and double standard, you put Asiedu on the writ that claimed that the president ought to have notified you. You remember that incident? Asiedu was there. Who empaneled Asiedu? It was Justice Torkono. Is it not the same Asiedu that President Mahama had put on the 5-member committee to investigate the claims against you? How come that suddenly she no longer trusts the mind of Justice Asiedu? What changed? There are many instances that she had put Justice Puaman on. I mean, so where from this hypocrisy? I find it extremely, extremely uncomfortable even discussing this. Look, I have avoided, for obvious reason, a merit review of the allegations against her. For good reasons. I've restrained myself, all my public commentary. I've always dealt with the legal issues on this matter. She knows. Like she pointed out, the law is the law. I've appeared before her. I wasn't happy with some of the decisions. But like again, I took it that the law is the law. And went home crying. Look, there's something that she did that I find it extremely, extremely, maybe uncalled for.
Why?
But mischievous.
What exactly are you
And at that point, I thought she was doing politics.
What exactly?
You see, she made an attempt to try and link the current proceedings to the unfortunate, insane, and dastardly murder of the High Court judges and the army officer. But try drawing a parallel between the fact that the proceedings are happening at Edu Lodge and the events of 1982. What did she do? Cleverly, she says that why is the proceedings happening in Edu Lodge? And claim and created a false narrative that the unfortunate murder of the judges and the military officer was planned and executed with Edu Lodge in mind. Complete falsehood. Look, I have a copy of the SIB report, the 85-page report, and the Attorney General's comment, 23 pages.
Okay.
Were made. If you read the SIB report, there were effectively 3 references to Edu Lodge in the report. The executive summary. In the executive summary at point 7.
While you access that, let's hear exactly what the Chief Justice Torkono referenced on this Edu Lodge within their press conference. Take a look at this.
Edu Lodge facility that the hearings are being conducted in featured very prominently in the planning of the murder of judges on June 30th, 1981. And this can be read about in the special investigative report on that terrible event in our nation's history. It will be recalled that there was a Major Samakwa, a military officer who was killed with the 3 High Court justices, who was the Director of Human Resource of GIHOC. He was my uncle and my guardian when I entered the University of Ghana in September 1980. I was also living with him at the time he was abducted and murdered. Was Edu Lodge chosen for my inquiry to make me feel insecure? I think so. and I continue to hold the view that there is no reason why a judicial hearing is being conducted behind the high walls.
Well, so that's the reference to Edu Lodge. They say it's featured prominently. These were her words in there.
First of all, the record shows this insane and unfortunate murder of the judges happened in June 1982. Correct, Senior? Good. Look, the same SIB report that she referenced, the executive summary, paragraph 9. Amatekwe and Captain Kojochikata retired met at Edu Lodge on 31st October 1982. 31st October 1982.
This is a Special Investigation Board report.
Yes. Executive summary, paragraph 9.
Paragraph 9.
Is there. So how did this feature in the planning of the murder? How? A murder that took place in June. The Special Investigative Body, established by PNDC Law 15, started its work. It was in the process of its work, left for it to submit its report, that Captain Retired Kojochikata met Joachim Amatekwe in October at Edu Lodge. October. By which time the murder had already taken place. Why would you think that Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice, would want to twist these facts? Is to basically draw herself into an event that happened 43 years ago to play on the emotional keyboards of our people. What has that got to do? Event that happened in 1982, anybody envisaged that today, having become the Chief Justice, there will be any petition that will require an inquiry against you?
Well, she said it featured prominently. Her uncle was in there. She was living with the uncle when the uncle was abducted.
You see, hold on. One of the things I've always avoided publicly is a commentary on the murder of the judges and the air serviceman. For obvious reason. Because you see, it invokes sensibilities. And so, and you see, for us as lawyers, every 31st June, we do the Martyrs' Day, 30th of June, we do the Martyrs' Day celebration. We'll go to church, we'll do all those things in remembrance of that dastardly act. And for us never to get there. But you see, if you read the confession statement of Joachim Amatekwe, he provided the context or the reason for that insane, excuse my language, stupid decision of his. It's there. It's in the report. Whereupon he makes the point that as union leader for GIHOC, his boss, director HR at that time, was Major Samakwa, who happens to be the uncle, as Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice referenced. And that he was dismissed after they engaged in demonstration or something. And thereafter, because you are the head of personnel, he sanctioned his dismissal. So when the PNDC came, Amatekwe conveniently joined the PNDC to get back at this and says he went to court. When he went to court to challenge his dismissal, the judge who sat on it was Cecilia Kranche Ado. And said when he lost the case and came back and informed the wife that the case he took to court, he had lost it. The wife, who was pregnant, had a miscarriage. And that was when set off all this. It's all in his confession statement. Our country has traveled a path that we have all said we will not go there again. Why throw in this in an inquiry as to whether your conduct A, B, C, D meet the constitutional threshold for your removal. What has the events of 1982, 43 years ago, got to do? Unless, of course, to do politics. And you see, for a young man like me associated with the NDC, first of all, these events happened. I'm sure I didn't even have the mind to even appreciate them. When these events happened, where was the NDC? Where was President Mahama? Was there even anything called NDC? No. So to try to link it today, after 43 years, and said the choice of Edu Lodge was to remind you. I mean, how can you even say that?
Well,
with respect. How can you do that? Unless, of course, you are doing politics with the proceedings involving you. And look, I have told our party communicators